All right, I know Devil May Cry 2 has a reputation of don't play it, it's garbage and all of that, but I have to say, as a newcomer to this series who's playing these games for the first time, I'm 3 levels into Devil May Cry 2 and there's a lot of good things to say about it.
HJ Review.
Welcome back, Classy Crew, to another journal as I journey through all the Devil May Cries, at least 1 through 5, and document my journey here. Today, a little bit of a hot take as I share my experience, my early experience about Devil May Cry 2, as well as wrap up my thoughts on Devil May Cry 1. If you want my full thoughts on my first impressions of Devil May Cry 1, check out Journal 1. But when it comes to Devil May Cry 2, hear me out. I'm going to share some points. And I'm going to preface it all by saying I have not played past level 3. I made it to the first boss, I killed the first boss, and I ran out of time on stream, and I was like, this is good stuff. This is not what I was expecting. When I made the pledge to play all 5 Devil May Cries, I was told, skip Devil May Cry 2. It's not good. It's a broken game. It's horrendous. I was expecting a lot of bad stuff. To be fair, when I started Devil May Cry 1, it's an old game. There's a lot of things in there that remind me of worse times in gameplay, in the gaming industry, things I don't want to go back and play. And there's a lot of those elements in Devil May Cry 1. So when I was hearing that Devil May Cry 2 was worse, I was only expecting horror, just pure horror. And at this point, I have only seen better design, better UI, better camera, better things. And I'm going to break this down. And I'm totally open to be proven wrong in later levels that maybe the game falls apart, but as an initial impression, this game is not bad. And I think its biggest criticism I could say for it from a potential Devil May Cry fan is that the game is maybe more boring than bad. So let's get into that. So when I say better design, what did I mean? So Dante looks better, and I think we all agree on that. When I was playing on it, I was like, whoa, man, Dante looks a lot better. I like the hair. They put some work in the hair, and he looks cooler, like less polygon. I think his hair even moves in the wind, and everyone's like, yeah, we agree with that. Yeah, he looks pretty good. They improved this model. So I don't think there's any arguments there. The UI, I think, is a huge improvement. Just everything looks better on screen. The pause menu is more intuitive. It's cleaner. And I think you could say the UI designer who worked on Devil May Cry 2, they learned a few things from Devil May Cry 1 and what all the other games were doing. And they've just made it better and more intuitive. Now, does a UI make a game better or worse? Well, sometimes it does. But I think I don't think there's too much argument on the UI. This next one's a bit of a personal opinion of mine. I always share I don't like dark games. And one of the reasons I didn't like Dark Souls as much as Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 1 was just dark, old, and the camera was more zoomed in, I think, if I recall. Dark Souls 3 had more brightness in the game and has more detail, more texture, and also the camera zoomed out more. The same thing happens in Devil May Cry 2. The game is brighter. You're not confined to these tight hallways. The camera's actually zoomed out. And again, this is just the first 3 levels. It could probably all go to hell and all my points are completely disregarded after this. But in the first 3 levels, the camera is comfortably zoomed out. I can see, for the most part, what's going on. Sure, there's enemies off screen. It's not perfect. But when you compare it to Devil May Cry 1, it just feels less suffocating. And I can actually see more of what's going on. And so for that, I like it more. The textures are sharper, and for that, the game is, I think, 2-3 years newer. I'm not going to compare too much, but on the PS2, you could see that they had the time to improve the graphics on Devil May Cry 2 over the first one. One thing that really stood out to me is actual design element, and I'm no game designer, but I can appreciate some aspects of game design. Whereas in Devil May Cry 2, I'm playing sometimes, and there'll be like a red orb here. I was like, oh, what's that? And then I go get it. And then it's like a little trail of red orbs that takes you somewhere. I was like, oh, the game is teaching me as the player that I need to go investigate here, that I need to go here. And I'm actually finding things because the game places small clues that if as a player you're paying attention, you will find it. In Devil May Cry 1, that doesn't exist. You just have to be lucky, or you have to have a guide, or you have to have a game facts thing open, game FAQ, sorry, and that's how you're expected to know, or you play with a veteran. And I hate that. I don't like that. And it's from a way older time in gaming where it's like, if you knew, you knew, and then you had this like superiority over people. You're like, oh, you don't know about the secret. If you look at the thing a certain way and you jump 5 times on the thing, that's how you unlock the super thing. It's like, no, let the game teach the player what they need to know. Everything should be self-contained in the game. And we've gotten better at that over the years. The fact that I think all the combos are unlocked from the beginning of the game I think is a huge, it's good for the player because you have your entire arsenal of moves available to you. And again, I don't know if you unlock more moves, but from what I understand, you can only upgrade your weapons to do more damage, which I think that's how a game should be. So that right from the onset as a player, I can play around with all my moves and mechanics. And if I want to do more damage and have an easier time, then I invest my points into my weapons. Now, I will also argue all of this that, sure, compared to Devil May Cry 1 to a player, this might be more boring. And I did notice that I had less difficulties fighting everything. It was pretty much you go into a fight and you just smash the X button or whatever button it is to just do all your attacks with the triangle button. And you can pretty much power through everything. There's not as much finesse and movement. And for the most part, I understand to some degree that is the appeal of Devil May Cry. And I don't think as a player I have fully appreciated what the core gameplay and the core loop of Devil May Cry is. But as a noob, I can just say that Devil May Cry 2 is not so bad. And that's why I say I think the criticism, at least for the first 3 levels, is that the game is probably more boring to players such as yourselves, more than being a bad game. Because if the combat isn't challenging or fun, like it was in Devil May Cry 1, what's the point? And for that, I hear you, and if that's the criticism, I think there needs to be a little bit of a change of the game is not broken, it's just boring. Now, if I keep playing this game and it actually starts breaking where I'm falling through things and glitching everywhere and I just can't progress and nothing makes sense, sure, I will make the next journal entry being Devil May Cry 2 is the worst game ever and you should not play it. But as an initial impression of a first-time player in the first few levels, it's not that bad. I've seen worse. So anyways, those are my initial impressions of Devil May Cry 2. Let's talk about Devil May Cry 1 because I did wrap that up. And last time I had a few levels left. I forget where I left off. It was just before the fight with Nilo Angelo. And boy, this boss was walling me hard. And I kind of cheesed it a little bit. But hey, it's in the game so I can use it. The first thing is I was over-relying on the sword, lightning sword. And I was having a lot of trouble with the frost enemies, and I completely forgot I had Ifrit gloves. You know, gloves made of fire, yeah, that could have helped me with the frost things a lot easier. And what I started getting stuck with is this, basically, quote-unquote, the run back to Nilo Angelo, which is a pretty hard boss. He kills you in pretty much 2 to 3 swipes. And you had to kill the 2 frost enemies, which would give me trouble. And then you have to do this puzzle with the dinosaur that you have to, like, ricochet back his energy balls at him. And then you had to run around, and finally you could fight Nilo Angelo. So that became a little bit tedious because it'd be like 5-7 minutes, whatever, just to run back to this thing, just to get smacked around and die instantly and then have to redo it. So finally learned how to do the frost enemies. I tried to learn how to fight Nilo Angelo, and it was hard because in the past I could just kind of pretty much poke him and interrupt him. And I could get him pretty much down to his second phase, but then he would do these crazy combos or just summon swords everywhere, and I would just die so fast I didn't even have time to understand, okay, how do I dodge? How do I move? And over, it wasn't working. I tried with the gloves, I tried with the sword, and then someone said, use the holy water. And I didn't even know what this item was, but I learned that the holy water is a magical item that when you just use it, it takes about 30% of the boss's health. And you can use, I think, 2 or 3 of them. So I ended up using 2, and I also found out I had another item that gives you invulnerability for a bit. So after an hour of not really progressing much on Nilo Angelo, and I was kind of getting frustrated with it, I ended up just bringing his health down, fighting him, bring his health down about half, holy water him twice, put my invincibility on, and kill him. If I wouldn't have done that, I'd probably still be fighting him to this day. And I can't say I really like Devil May Cry 1. I just think it's an old game that if you didn't play it when you were younger, it's really hard to get into now 20 years later. So I have to, and I think this is maybe a theme because Dark Souls 1 did the same thing for me where I didn't really like it, and I think a lot of it was because of the old mechanics that I just couldn't do. I couldn't get into it. And Devil May Cry 1 is 10 years older than Dark Souls, so it's too old, it's aged poorly. I'm glad I played it to understand the core of what the game is, but I can't say I really would want to replay it. I don't enjoy it to that degree. After Nilo Angelo fought the nightmare again in hell, because let's reuse these bosses, had more more fun with the Nightmare than with Neil Angelo, just because I don't die after 2 hits. And I was starting to learn his pattern, and it was just getting too difficult to dodge all the BS attacks at the end when even the lady was like lightning you and they're like 2-on-1 and you have to wait for like the slime's balls to open so that you can smack them. Like, it was just, I was getting impatient, and I'm like, holy water time, balls are shown, throw some holy water, kill it all. And then finally we made it to Mundus, and this too was a bit frustrating. It was a cool climactic ending, and the first time, you start with like a bullet hell type of level. I'm like, oh, I love this. I love like the shoot 'em ups. And I did well on the first one. Got on my first try, the bullet hell. And then we got into phase 2 where he's like in the lava pit. I was like, oh, this is a cool final boss. But then I couldn't understand the platforming to jump. Like, I kept falling in the lava. And then I eventually learned, oh, if you devil trigger, you get like massive gun blasts and like sword blasts. So I was doing that, and eventually I died because I just lost because I didn't know what I was doing. And that's when it got frustrating, because I kept dying over and over to the bullet hell screen for some reason, and I couldn't progress through that anymore. And it's a big time sink. I was actually watching someone who's pretty good at the gameplay afterwards. And if you're good, it takes you 6 to 7 minutes just to get through that screen where you're essentially just holding down the shoot button and you're just moving around, dodging, just waiting for this guy's health to go back so you can finally fight him in the fire pit. Oh, I hated that so much, and I wish the game would have just let you, like, they should have just separated those levels, because it's such a waste of a player's time. I hate it. And then finally, the final level is you run away, which I like that. Like, you run while everything's falling apart. I like that, like, aspect of those games where they give you kind of that final bonus level, and then there's a bonus boss, which I was like, no, not again, just end this. But then that boss wasn't too hard. It just makes you feel like a badass to give it a final finish. I was like, yes, that's how you do it. And then we get on a plane and we fly out. I was like, okay, this whole finishing sequence is good. So overall, yeah, Devil May Cry, not what I was expecting of a game. A lot harder than what I was expecting. I mean, it's not as polished as I thought either. But again, it's the first game. I hear the game really picks up in the third. I already like the direction Devil May Cry 2 is going in, oddly enough. Like, I'm seeing a lot of improvements for the franchise here. I'm most excited to see what 3 is about, because it sounds like 3 is when the franchise really took off, got its mainstream appeal, and then I don't know about 4, but 5 sounds like it was pretty good. And I look forward to, I'm learning more about, it's not just killing enemies or bosses, but it's doing it stylishly. And I don't think I succeeded at that at all in Devil May Cry 1. So I look forward to a more fluid combat where I actually start understanding how to style and like shoot the enemies, juggling them up in the air, like slash, 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 and just having it look cool and be super satisfying as a player. So I'm not quite there yet. We're going to get there. I'm going on an Elden Ring journey with Monster Hunter. I'm not sure where Devil May Cry is going to fit in all this. It's going to be a sporadic play that I will squeeze in between streams or on weekend streams when I have time. Honestly, it's a back burner game, so don't wait up on my next Devil May Cry journal, but when it drops, I will see you in that video. And until next time, keep it classy. Do 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 do. Subscribe.